Hi friends, good evening and welcome to this demo on Red Hat Linux Server Administration.
Good evening,
I
sir.
hope I hope I'm audible there, friends. Yeah, thanks, Nathan.
Yes, sir.
All right, all right, fine. So, as you know, friends, this is a first demo on the server administration part. So we'll just try to go with very basics today. Okay, so whether it is a basic session or a regular session or the last session, actually, every session will be recorded here. Okay, so while the session is on, please try to use the chat box to send your questions and queries. In case if there is any question which you need to ask at that particular moment, then maybe you can unmute yourself. But in most of the cases, try to use the chat box to send your questions because we will share all the recordings with you, right? So if the recordings are nice and clean, it will be easy for you to revise each and every lecture again and again. All right, this is the one thing. And the second thing is, like I said, the classes should be very interactive. If the classes are interactive, the classes will be very interesting. Actually, we can go a bit more deeper into every topic. So how to keep these sessions more interactive here? By using the chat box, we can keep our sessions very interactive. And if you want to talk to me at the end of the session, it's up to you. You can simply unmute yourself and we can have some discussion there. All right. Fine. So let's kickstart our session here, friends. The Linux server administration. Now, see, in our computer networks, actually, there are different job roles. Let me just write it down few of the very famous job roles to begin with, server administration, network administration, cloud admin, DevOps admin. I'm just using the terminology as administrator. There's some people may call it as engineer. It's up to them. So it's not a big deal. It is just a terminology. So let's go with the admin as a terminology. Okay. Let's say cyber security admin. All right. And many more things. Okay. And if I just go with the other very famous department in our IP, I can say as a department that is, programming. See, if you want to become a server administrator, network administrator, cloud administrator, DevOps administrator, cyber security admin, programming, if you want to do any of this particular, work, or if you want to pursue a career in any of this particular field, one of the most common requirement in all this particular field is actually Linux. So we are not learning Linux just for learning cloud computing or for DevOps. Linux is actually the base for every other technology, my friend. Linux is the base for all the other latest or the old technologies. Without Linux server operating system, I can say there is no internet. Without Linux server operating system, you cannot connect to the applications because applications may not be running without Linux. Today, if you go and see over the internet, 80 to 85% of applications what you connect every day or what applications are running over the internet, 80 to 85% of applications are actually running on a Linux server operating system. So there are no ifs and buts here, my friend. You have to learn Linux, you have to learn Linux. That's it. Linux is one of the most important part of our career. Maybe you're dreaming to become a cloud engineer. Maybe someone is dreaming to become a cybersecurity admin. Maybe someone wants to become a programmer. Someone is interested in network administration. Everything is great. You have great scope in whatever I have written there. But my friend, without Linux server administration, if you want to go with cloud, DevOps, cybersecurity, server administration, network administration, cybersecurity, and all these things, that means if I take the example of myself, if I want to become a cybersecurity administrator and without Linux administrator, maybe I can say my, 50% of my body is not working. Let's say I want to become a fighter. Let's say I want to become a boxer. But let's say I don't have one hand. I'm handicapped. Can I just become a boxer? I'm very sorry to take this example actually, but just I want to show you Linux is such an important part of our career. All right. So people who who are working in, let's say, cloud, DevOps, you know, programming, and all the other things for last many years, one thing you will definitely see in their resume is the Linux server. Done. So let us see more about this. We know the importance now, how important it is for us, for our career, and for the IT industry and everything. Let us try to see more about this Linux. Now, before I go to the Linux, let me just clear few more things. There are basically two server administration courses you get. One is Microsoft Windows Server Administration. Normally, we call it as MCSE, Microsoft Certified Solution Engineer or Associate, something like this. So Microsoft Windows Server courses you will get, and the other server administration is the Linux Server Administration. 95, 97, 98% of servers across the globe over the internet within our company. Over the internet, there is a public network, or our company's network, there is a private network. 97 to 98% of servers, they are either running on Windows Server operating system or Linux Server operating system. And when you do the comparison between Windows Server and Linux Server, over the internet, Linux Server is around 85%. Over the internet, Linux is a market leader. There is no, competition for Linux over the internet. But within our company, maybe, Windows can give some competition. I'm not saying Windows is having upper hand there, but Windows can give some competition. Because in Windows, we have a very beautiful concept there, my friend, that is called AD, Active Directory. So most of the local area networks, they prefer Active Directory to manage their networks. So within our company, let's say if there are 100 servers, 100 is not a big deal, my friend. It's a very small network in a way. You have, let's say, 500, 700,000, 2,000, 3,000 servers, easily 10,000, 12,000 servers in a company. So let's say 100 servers. Out of these 100 servers within a company, you may see, let's say, 55% Microsoft servers, or let's say 50-50. In some cases, 50-50. In some cases, it can be, let's say, 40% Microsoft servers and 60% Windows Linux servers. In some cases, maybe you can say 60%, Windows servers and 40% Linux server. So there is a competition within the company between Windows and Linux. But over the internet, my friend, there is absolutely no competition between Microsoft and Linux. Linux is indeed the market leader. Whatever latest technologies you have heard about, let's say artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, data analytics, whatever you know, my friend, all these things are actually running on a Linux server operating system. Okay. Now, one more point I want to add here. That is, when you say Linux server administration, within Linux server administration, there are different flavors or different, Linux distributions available. Distribution is a correct terminology here. Now, what I mean by distribution, there is something called Red Hat Linux. There is something called Ubuntu Linux. There is something called CentOS, SUSE, Debian, Fedora, Amazon Linux, Kali Linux, Urkel Linux. There are many different versions available or distributions available. Okay, I can say in this way, there are many companies which offers you the Linux operating system. Amazon offers you Linux operating system. Oracle offers you Linux operating system. Okay. Red Hat is a company that offers you the Linux operating system. Ubuntu offers you the Linux operating system. So in this, there are some hundreds of companies that offers you the Linux server operating system. Maybe tomorrow, let's say you may get a Linux operating system like SRK Linux. SRK Shah Rukh Khan. Who knows? Maybe let's say Ambani Linux. Ambani people can, develop a Linux operating system. How they can develop, that's a different story. We'll come to it. But you may get Ambani Linux. Or let's say instead of Ambani, can I say their product Geo Linux? So Shah Rukh Khan can, maybe he's interested maybe tomorrow in, some software business and all the other things. So he can, take some hundreds of software developers and programmers and everyone, and they can develop a Linux operating system on his name. Or someone can dedicate a Linux on his name, or let's say Sachin Tendulkar Linux, something like this. So Linux is not one. There are different companies offers you the Linux operating system. But you know what is the best part here, my friend? If you know one, I'm not saying all the others are same actually, but still if you know one, you can work on others. If you know, let's say Geo Linux, which is not there, but still, let's say if you know Geo Linux, you can work on Shah Rukh Khan Linux. Got it? So out of all the Linux operating systems, the most important one are Red Hat and Ubuntu. If you know Red Hat, you can work on Ubuntu. If you know Ubuntu, you can work on Red Hat. Let's say user administration, group administration, file administration, DNS servers, email servers, web servers. Whatever you do on Red Hat server, you can do everything on Ubuntu server. Then where is the difference? The difference can be there in commands. Their architecture, their design, it will remain same, but the difference can be there in their commands. There we get some difference. There you may see some difference. I'll take a very basic example here. For example, there is a command in Linux called system CTL. It does certain activities. It will perform certain tasks. Now, the same task we can do in Ubuntu by using, let's say, apt get command. But if you go with a command like cat, you will see cat command in Red Hat Linux, you will see cat command in Ubuntu Linux. If you say ls, you will see ls command in Red Hat Linux, you will see ls command in Ubuntu Linux. If you say fdisk-l, you will see fdisk-l in Ubuntu Linux. And theoretically, they are majorly same. Practically, I can say around 70 to 75% commands and concepts, they are same. There are few commands which are different because every company wants to put their own, trademark there, right? They want to say like, okay, this is something special in us. All right. So out of these two, which one we need to learn? You need to learn at least one. And out of these two, actually, the most famous is Red Hat. We are learning this. I'm not saying because of this, but still, the Red Hat is the most preferable Linux operating system by different companies, by different businesses across the globe. But again, my friend, if you have put Red Hat server administration in your resume, a company can call you for interview. And once you crack your interview, they can say, all right, this is your Ubuntu server, go and work. That is possible actually. Okay, so when you work on Ubuntu server in a company, you just need to take help of Google, YouTube, and some documents here and there. Theoretically, they remain same. Practically, some commands will be different. You can easily manage that Ubuntu server as well. I hope it is clear, right? So this is your Red Hat Linux server administration course, my friend. Okay, and whenever you have some time, do one thing. Just try to go about this Windows Server administration, especially the Active Directory. It will definitely help you in understanding many other concepts in computer networking actually. Okay, so just try to take some help from somewhere and just try to go through this Active Directory there. Anyhow, as of now, we will go deep into this Linux server administration. Done? All right. Now, when you say Linux server administration, server is actually a very confusing terminology for many freshers. Normally, people feel server is a physical machine. Some say server is a logical machine. Some say server is the operating system. All these three people are actually 100% correct. Server is a physical machine. It can be a virtual machine, or it can be an operating system. So what we are learning in this particular course is not about the physical machine. Physical machine is nothing anyway, my friend. Physical machine is like your laptop or a desktop. Same sort of, hardware devices, hardware components, motherboard, processor, RAM, hard disk, everything will look same. So physical server is just a physical machine. The thing what we need to know here is this server operating system. Everything is designed on server operating system. Everything is based on server operating system. See, I'm using Windows 10 here. Who can use this Windows 10? Who knows how to use this server? Who knows how to use this operating system, right? If you know how to use the operating system, you can work on it. If you have no knowledge about the operating system, can you work on it? No. If you know how to create a folder, you can create a folder. If you know how to create a document, you can create a document. If you know how to browse the internet, you can go to the browser, you can browse the internet. If you want to check some score, you can just go there and check some score. Right? This is your operating system. By the way, this is your client operating system, right? Now, there is one more operating system that is running across the globe. Because of that operating system, only the internet is running, my friend. And that operating system is actually known as the server operating system. And in this server operating system, like I said, Windows server is one OS and Linux server is one OS. Let us say briefly what is this server operating system, or let us say what is operating system first of all. See, I think few of you may be using let's say a desktop machine to connect to this session, or maybe a laptop to connect to this session. Let's say mobile phone to connect to this session, or maybe let's say a tab to connect to this session. You may be using some different, devices. What is one thing that all these devices will have beside the hardware? All these devices have their own operating system. Without operating system, we cannot use a mobile, a tab, or a laptop, or a desktop, or for that matter, most of the machines what we use in our computer network, there is a operating system, my friend. There is indeed a operating system. Okay, so let me just add one more device here, which is actually the most important one in computer network, that is server. So in laptop, what we use? In desktop, actually, we use Windows client operating system. In laptops, what we use? Windows client. What is Windows client here? It can be Windows 10 or it can be Windows 11. I don't think we are using Windows 8 now. It is outdated. All right. In mobile phone, Android, I hope the spelling is correct. In tab also, we have some sort of operating system. And in our server, actually, friends, we use Windows Server operating system or the Linux server operating system. So the Linux server operating system is used exactly at this particular place. But friends, if you go and see the Android operating system, or if you go and see some other operating system, you will definitely see the traces of Linux there. Windows is a different company. They work on a different way. They have their own program. They use something else, right? But the other operating systems, they have the traces of the Linux operating system. So forget about each and everything. As of now, just try to concentrate on server machine. Server is a machine which is, running everywhere across the globe. Because of the server machine, the internet is running. Because of the server machine, we are able to connect now. Because of the server machine, literally everything is running there, friends. All the other technologies are running because of server machine. And on this server machine, because of the server Linux server operating system, the applications are running perfectly fine. They are running smoothly, perfectly fine. Okay, so Linux is actually a server operating system. I repeat, Linux is what? Linux is actually a server operating system. So we just need to know about the server operating system. Now, if someone is a fresher here, they may get a question. What we need to learn in an operating system? We already know how to use Windows 10, Windows 11 operating system. So can't we use a Linux server operating system in the same way? Answer is no. The architecture of Windows and Linux server is the architecture of your Windows operating system and the Linux operating system is different. All right, they both are operating system actually, but how to use them is completely different. Okay, so we just cannot sit on a Linux server and we just cannot start using it directly. That's simply not possible actually. You just need to get some training to get used to the Linux operating system and work there as a programmer or a cloud admin or a DevOps admin or a network admin or whatever department you belong or whatever you are planning to move in future. You just need to learn how to use the Linux server operating system. Now, there are two things in Linux server operating system. One is how to operate it. And the second thing is how to configure it. Uh, let's say instead of configuration, let's say administration. Clear, friends? How to use it and how to do the administration by using the Linux server operating system. Operating wise, it may take, 3, 4, 5 days for you to learn how to use it. Hmm? But for administration, my friend, it's a never-ending journey. Obviously, we'll be going with like say 35 to 40 days. But administration is something that you'll be learning every time, every new thing you'll be getting there. Actually, you just need to update yourself, and there are many more things you need to learn there. So what I'm trying to say here is, whenever you talk about operating system is a base which will keep your application running perfectly. Okay, so every operating system, especially the server operating system, you should know how to operate it and how to do the administration. Operating is actually a very basic task. Administration is actually a bit advanced task. Okay, there are many applications which are running on operating systems. Because of the administrator, the operating system is running those applications. So we just need to learn how to do the administration part. Okay, before I go a bit deep into our session, let me just go there and open a Linux server to show you like how exactly it looks. I'll just randomly power on one of the Linux server, which is already installed in my machine for some other batch. All right, so it will take around 30-40 seconds actually for the machine to come up. I hope you understood what is a OS now. Linux is what? Linux is your operating system, right? So let me just go with a bit more details of the Linux server operating system or any operating system for that matter. See what it says here. You might have seen this definition many a times in your career, my friend. Maybe somewhere on the internet, maybe somewhere in a book. What they say, operating system is a interface between a user and a hardware. This is absolutely fine. This is absolutely correct definition. There can be technically much better definition for operating system, but let us generalize everything initially. So what is operating system? It is an interface between a user and a hardware. I am the user. I am the person. I am the user. And what is the hardware? Hardware is your laptop or a server or a router or a firewall or a switch or anything. Okay, it can be anything. So a user is interacting with the hardware to store the data, to run a file, to open a video file, to watch any live telecast. It will be done on a hardware, right? But in case if the operating system is not running in that hardware, I repeat, in case if the operating system is not running in that hardware is just a dummy device. It cannot do anything without operating system. Maybe your hardware is very advanced hardware, my friend, the latest hardware, but without the operating system, it simply cannot run. So the interface between a user and the hardware is actually the operating system. With the help of OS only, we are interacting with the hardware and we are literally doing all the tasks that we need to do. Okay. Now, what we need to do in operating system, we need to manage the resources, process management, security, networking services will be there, performance management will be there, data management will be there. We should know how to take backup and recover it. We should know how to run the applications. At the end of the day, I can say we need to provide a user a interface that ensures smooth interaction between a user and the system. So we just need to make sure the operating system which we are using in our company that runs the application perfectly. Every company, let's say they are running Red Hat Linux there, but the configuration within the Red Hat Linux can be a bit different. I'm not saying like, commands will be different, but how they are configuring it, it can be a bit different. So by using this operating system, we can do all these different tasks. Now, compared to the client operating system, that is Windows 10 and Windows 11, that is what we use in our laptops and desktops, server operating system is having way more features, extra administrative features will be there. Because of this extra administrative features, what we can do? We can manage our network, we can manage our applications, we can manage our tools. Right now we are connected to this session using Zoom meeting, right? What is a Zoom meeting? It is an application. Now, where is this application running? Okay, normally what people think here is the application is running in the laptop or maybe let's say in their mobile phone. Let's say this is a mobile phone and let's say the application is running somewhere here. All right, this application is actually known as client application, my friend. By using this client application, you know what we do? We connect to the actual application which is running somewhere on a server. This is server. So by using client, we are connected here. Okay, I am sitting somewhere on my laptop or desktop. I'm also connected here. So right now, can you imagine how many people can be connected to this server Zoom application? See, the time is around, I think 8:30 now. Yeah, it's peak hours in a way. Businesses, meetings, classes, everything is going on there. So how many people can be connected to this Zoom server? Lakhs of people are connected across the globe, right? At least lakhs and lakhs of people are connected to this Zoom. Now, this Zoom application is running on this server, but let me show you one very simple graphics here, my friend. This should be there with you forever. This particular image or PPT, whatever you say, it should be there with you forever. See how simplified it is. This is your hardware here, friends. On top of your hardware, the operating system is running, and on top of the operating system, the application is running. Right now, we are connected to Zoom application, so this Zoom is running here. Next time you connect to YouTube, so YouTube is running there. Instagram, Facebook, PhonePe, Google Pay. What else? Ola, Swiggy, Zomato, Uber, WhatsApp, whatever applications we use every day, my friend, those applications are running on this server. So one server will be there. Okay, let's say there are multiple servers, but as of now, let's say one server will be there where this server operating system is installed and an application is configured or application is running there. So all the people across the globe are connecting to that particular application. They are literally connecting to that particular application there. This is a concept of the server hardware, server, operating system, and on top of this, the application. You can see here clearly, users are connected. User 1, user 2, user 3, any number of users, they are connected here. Any number of users are literally connected here. So this is this server operating system we need to learn, my friend. So basics are not enough. We need to go with the administration part. See here, client OS we are using for many, many years. We know this very well. From day one, actually, people who start using computers, from day one, they start using client OS. You know, when I started using computers, it was Windows 98. Wow. I think most of you have not heard about Windows 98, maybe. If you're somewhere in 20s, early 20s, some mid 20s, you have not heard about Windows 98. I started using computers in the year 2000, actually, when I was still in school. So 98 was the operating system. Now it is Windows 10 and Windows 11. Okay, so the client operating system and then the server operating system. In server operating system, we have Windows and Linux operating system. Don't worry about Unix and Linux as of now. We'll see in more details. But this is what it is, my friend. This is your operating system that we need to learn. So what is the purpose of operating system? It will run the applications. Every application that is running on the internet, every application that runs within the company, it runs on a server operating system. It can be Windows server or it can be Linux server. But again, majorly which one? Majorly the Linux server operating system. Prerequisites to get a job in cloud, DevOps, cybersecurity, okay, uh, security, or let's say, programming is your Linux administration. If there is a Windows administration requirement, then there will be a separate job. But Linux administration requirement is common for all the job profiles, what I have mentioned just now. It is literally mandatory. Okay. Now, let me just show you few very important things here. The server is up now. Let me just go there and connect to the server. All right. Friends, what you see right now on your screen is your Linux server operating system. It is your Linux server operating system, my friend. That's it. See, if I say cat slash etc slash os release, cat etc slash os release, can you see here? This is a Red Hat Enterprise Linux 9.4. Red Hat Enterprise Linux 9.4. This is one of the latest versions. So whenever you learn 9 point version, that means this is one of the latest version. So we are learning the Red Hat Enterprise Linux 9.4 version. It can be 9.6, 9.7 if you want to upgrade yourself. Like, but if you know 9.x, X can be 2, 4, 5, 6, anything. So we just need to learn that particular version. This is one of the latest Linux version. Okay. And how it works, let me show you a few commands here. ls, it shows you something. If I say cd documents, it takes you to some other place. If I say cd, you just go outside. If I say fdisk-l, it shows you some output here. If I say date, it shows you the date and time and everything. This is your operating system, my friend. These are the commands we need to learn. And once you put a command, once you enter a command, what output you get, you should know how to check the output. So Linux is a CLI operating system, command line operating system. Most of the people, they are afraid of Linux operating system because of the CLI feature. I repeat, they are afraid of CLI feature actually. But let me tell you one thing, my friend. CLI feature is much more easier and much better actually than GUI feature. I repeat, CLI is much easier and much better than GUI. Very soon, if you realize CLI, command line interface or character line interface is better than GUI, trust me, my friend, there is a day actually you have already succeeded in your career. The day you realize CLI is much better, much easier than GUI, like I said you, that is actually the, success of your career. Got it? So CLI, we are learning everything in CLI. Don't worry about how the commands will be there, how we can use it, see, there is no programming or coding needed here, friends. There is no need for you to know some programming language and anything. You'll be just learning the, administration part, commands and everything, and you'll be completely okay with it. You'll be perfectly fine with it. Okay. Initially, 1 or 2 classes will go with very basics. Then once you move into the advanced topics, you'll just, see how beautifully the Linux server operating system is designed. All right. So what you see right now on your screen, like I said, is actually your Linux server operating system. Fine. So these are some of the very basic things I was supposed to discuss today, friends. We are expecting few more people tomorrow, but anyhow, I've just started the session, so I thought like I could take some, very basic stuff today. Now it's up to you, friends. If you want to discuss anything, ask any questions, then I'm available for you. We can take all the questions and then we can stop the session for the day. I think most of you already joined in some other class also, like they are coming in CCN as well as in AWS. And I can see 2 new people here, Bhushan Kumar and Shahid Mohammed. So just be frank here, friends. Other people are already coming in some other classes, so they know very well how things will be going on here. So if you have any doubt, always try to use the chat box. And if you want to talk to me directly, hopefully very soon I'll be sharing my WhatsApp number also, so that you can be in touch with me. You can simply message me anytime if you have any doubts and anything you want to clear. All right. So I think there are no questions for today. Yeah, with no issues, we'll stop the session within 30 seconds. I just want to say one thing here, friends, before I go. Linux server administration, if I say is mandatory for you for your career, I'm not wrong. I'm sure you'll be planning to go with cloud, DevOps, cybersecurity, something like this, right? Or maybe someone is a programmer here. So if you're planning to go with any of these things in future, then Linux server administration is mandatory. When you learn, where you learn, with whom you learn, it's a different thing. It's up to you to decide, my friend. But Linux server administration, just keep this in your bucket list. One of the most important thing you learn in your career is Linux server administration. If you're good in this, you can be definitely good in many things you do in your career. All right, so we'll just start everything from base, scratch, and then we'll go up to the administration level. All right, so I'm here for like 30 more seconds, friends. If no questions, we'll stop the session and we'll meet again tomorrow at same time, 8 p.m. India Standard Time. All right, so yeah, no questions. We'll stop the session here, friends. Thanks for coming and see you tomorrow at same time with more about the Linux administration, guys. Take care. Bye.